In the days of King Herod of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah who belonged to the priestly order of Abijah. His wife was a descendant of Aaron. Her name was Elizabeth. Both of them were righteous before God, living blamelessly according to all the commandments and regulations of the Lord. But they had no children, because Elizabeth was barren, and both were getting on in years. So we begin with the introduction of a childless family. Zechariah and his wife were pious Hebrews living in the hilly area south of Jerusalem. They were unfortunately dealing with the problem of childlessness, which in those times was perceived as a stigma and a curse. The barrenness of Elizabeth somewhat echoes the barrenness of Sarah, Abraham's wife, in the Old Testament. This passage has extra significance when compared to Romans 3, in which Paul seems to implicate all humanity in grave sin. Elsewhere in the New Testament, this being one place, we have descriptions of people who are righteous and blameless, but that's an issue for another time. Once when he was serving as priest before God and his section was on duty, he was chosen by lot, according to the custom of the priesthood, to enter the sanctuary of the Lord and offer incense. This passage shows that the author was familiar with the practices of ancient Judean priests. At this point in time, the number of descendants of Levi, the tribe of priests, was so great that they had to draw lots to do the basic functions of the Jerusalem temple. Now, at the time of the incense offering, the whole assembly of people was praying outside. Then there appeared to him an angel of the Lord, standing on the right side of the altar of incense. When Zechariah saw him, he was terrified, and fear overwhelmed him. So, angels are spirits. They don't have bodies. So what happens here is one of two things. Either God grants the angel some kind of temporary manifestation, or this is a flat-out vision. Either way. Now, Hallmark greeting cards depict angels as very cute, very cuddly creatures. And in popular imagery, we just imagine men with wings. One interesting thing is that it seems that every instance of a human being visited by an angel has the human reacting with complete horror, with one notable exception that we'll get to later. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah, for your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you will name him John. You will have joy and gladness, and many will rejoice at his birth. For he will be great in the sight of the Lord. He must never drink wine or strong drink. Even before his birth he will be filled with the Holy Spirit. He will turn many of the people of Israel to the Lord their God. With the spirit and power of Elijah he will go before him, to turn the hearts of parents toward their children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of righteousness, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord." Okay, now the angel tells Zechariah what is about to happen, that he is going to be the father of John the Baptist. He says John will be great in the sight of the Lord, which is certainly true because of John's role as the last of the Old Testament prophets. His total abstinence from alcohol is part of the vow of the Nazarites, but it's unclear if he would have taken the whole set of the Nazarite vows, or just this one thing. In any event, this is a sign of his consecration to the Lord. It also says he will be filled with the Holy Spirit from his mother's womb. This part takes place later on when Mary visits Elizabeth after Christ is conceived. One notable feature of the text from a pro-life point of view is how the text treats John as a real human being prior to his birth. And the part about him being filled with the power and the spirit of Elijah and returning the hearts of parents to their children is a reference to the prophecy found in Malachi chapter 4, verse 5, where it is said that Elijah would come before the day of the Lord to do precisely that. Jesus also draws this connection in Matthew chapter 11:14 when he identifies John the Baptist as the one who came in the spirit of Elijah. Zechariah replied to the angel, "How will I know this is so? For I am an old man, and my wife is getting on in years." The angel replied, "I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God, and I have been sent to speak to you and bring you this good news. But now, because you did not believe my words, which will be fulfilled in their time, you will become mute, unable to speak, until the day these things occur." So Zechariah's reaction is to doubt. He's wondering if the angel's report is correct because the idea of him having a kid seems so impossible. He replies to the angel, "How am I to know this will happen?" Well, the correct answer is, because an angel told you, you doofus. Now the angel identifies himself by name. His name is Gabriel, which means God is my strength. And he punishes Zechariah with muteness for doubting him. Meanwhile, the people were waiting for Zechariah and wondered at his delay in the sanctuary. When he did come out, he could not speak to them, and they realized that he had seen the vision in the sanctuary. He kept motioning to them and remained unable to speak. And when his time of service had ended, he went back to his home. After those days, his wife Elizabeth conceived, and for 5 months she remained in seclusion. She said, "This is what the Lord has done for me when he looked favorably upon me and took away the disgrace I have endured among my people." Thus we draw to a close with Elizabeth's exclamation of joy at being released from the stigma of infertility. One thing I found somewhat humorous about this story is that if Zechariah and Elizabeth were both blameless at the start of it, only Elizabeth is at the close. And next time, we'll pick up with the annunciation to Mary.